What's going on, everybody? We are live. That song that you're listening to is one of the tracks on the Space Zombies from Mars LP. For anybody that wasn't aware or anybody that was curious, so it's it's mastered and done. And at some point in the future, we will be offering that soundtrack again. We have a pretty good idea of when. More on that later. Not later today, but later. We're going to be doing the Kickstarter again, and it's going to be way better than the first time we ran it. Okay. We're here. I'm here. You're here. Everybody's here. We're going to talk toys. I am Adam. This is Highly Articulated. And it is con season. It's convention season. So the sort of, I know that we had Toy Fair a while ago, but that's more of like a retailer convention. That's not so much like a fan kind of convention. But, we've had like fan expos and Comic-Con, little versions of Comic-Cons, and Zolocon to me always kind of feels like the kickoff to the in-person convention season, if you will. That's better. Yeah. And then from Zolocon, it all goes crazy. I mean, we've got WonderCon, we've got Joanna, we've got Joe Fest, Joe Lana, on and on and on and on. Building in my opinion, kind of all building up to Legions Con, which to me kind of feels like the last convention of the year, although again, objectively it is not. But it's good to be in this place. I think it's felt like in the last few weeks there hasn't been much toy news, there hasn't been much to talk about, there hasn't been much sort of coming out or anything like that. I know there's always stuff, but as far as stuff that I'm into, as far as stuff that I sort of want to talk about, want to share, there hasn't been as much. But again, it's all perspective. And I also admit that that's largely because I've been paying very close attention to what the factory is doing in terms of getting Animal Warriors of the Kingdom brawler figures done. And I've kind of been intentionally ignoring some of the toy news. But anyway, we're here now and we're talking about toys. I don't have a ton to talk about again today. I mean, it still feels a little bit light. It still feels, but maybe that's just maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just my perspective is changing. Maybe I'm less excited about toy releases, or maybe they're just toy releases that I'm not as excited about, or maybe there's just sort of lesser no, there's no lesser releases, there's no more or less. It's just the ones that I get more excited about or less excited about. And like I said, the last few weeks there hasn't been much that I've gotten really excited about. That being said, there's stuff on the horizon that I am very, very excited about. So, um, you know, what am I talking about? Toys are fun. Toys are great. I still got tons of toys that I haven't opened, and I got more on the way. Also, full disclosure, I will be at WonderCon at the end of March. I think March 26th, 27th, 28th, or 27th, 28th, 29th, something like that. The last weekend of March, I will be in Anaheim, California for WonderCon. If you're in the area, if you're in Southern California, come by and hang out, have a chat, buy some Animal Warriors of the Kingdom stuff. I may or may not have some Space Zombies from Mars samples on the table. That's sort of up in the air still, but right after WonderCon, being that it is in Anaheim, being that it is literally across the street from Disneyland. I'm also planning a Disneyland trip for my family. And so I've spent a lot of time on that, sort of getting ready, getting organized, planning out the days, because that's what I do. I organize things, I plan things, and I probably do it too much to the point where I have these expectations, and then they never go to plan, and then it's just about enjoying the time with my family and hanging out in Disneyland. So I'm super super excited about that, but it does take up a bunch of my time. All right, very very quickly before we get into any toy news, toy stuff. Let's very quickly say hello to the chat. Gatey's Toys is here. That okay. So I will say this. I did the thumbnail and I thought to myself, what I did it this morning. I was in a rush and I couldn't think of anything to put in it because there was no real toy news that was terribly exciting to me that I haven't, already used in a thumbnail or something like that. Or I'm not planning to use in a thumbnail. And so I was like, okay, I got to find something. And then I sort of settled on a topic. I knew I was going to sort of talk about what I was going to talk about, um, but it wasn't until I did the thumbnail that I realized what I had done. But Gatey's Toys, you picked up on it right away. Thank you for that. And in my head, that's what I heard when I was posting it. I heard I heard it in my head. Nolan is here. Good to have you, buddy. Mr. Ryan Clark says, who's got 2 thumbs, a plate of nachos, and is sitting down to this Sunday live stream? If I had to guess, I would say it's probably you. Solo Sinner is here as well. Gabrielle is here. The Collecting Brothers, probably John. Larry's Geeky World. Good to have you, my friend. Good to have you indeed. Larry's Geeky World says, got my tickets purchased for Motu Fest. Who else will I be seeing there? You will be seeing this guy, probably. Still tentative, right? I mean, it's a ways out, and things change and things happen, but I am planning to go to Motu Fest. I will be at the Spero Toys table for that. Yeah, that's one of the ones on my list for the year. So very, very excited for all cons. I mean, I'm always excited. There's some cons I'm more excited for than others for like personal reasons. Sometimes I get to see people that I don't normally see. Sometimes it's like products and booths and things that I'm personally excited about. And sometimes it's just like it's a new con, or it's a place that I've never been, or what have you. I enjoy the adventure of it. I enjoy the whole thing. I enjoy that it gets me out of where I live during the winter months. And I'm looking out the window saying this. Where I live during the winter months, it's always very, very gray. I live in a valley, and the winter sort of cloud settles in, and it kind of doesn't go away. Like it feels like from November till April, it's just gray. We have really serious, like seasonal defective disorder. I don't know if people have ever heard of that. If you live somewhere where it's sunny, even in the winter, you probably never even heard of that. But seasonal affective disorder is basically a thing where, like, when you don't see the sun for months, it bums you out to the point of like mild depression. So a lot of people get that. I don't, because I'm usually in my office all the time playing with toys. I don't really look outside anyway. It doesn't really make that much difference to me, but it's a real thing. And John says, it's always me. I know, because the other half of the Collecting Brothers is AI, a bot. So obviously it's always John. Spaded One McDysentery is here as well. Good to have you, buddy. All right, let's get into toys, shall we? Super 7 announced their latest wave of Thundercats Ultimates figures, and they are digging pretty deep these days, I will say. That being said, I'm not upset about this wave at all. There's 2 figures in this wave that I like, that I want, that I would purchase. Will I purchase them? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But this is the Super 7 Thundercats Ultimates wave 28. I don't know what wave it is, to be perfectly honest. But we get Mumra, we get Zach, we get Zach. Is that what his name is? Yeah, Mumra, Zach, Jagara, and Wizra. So these are the 4 characters in the wave. And this is, I believe, a resculpt, a redesign of Mumra. We got Mumra in like wave 1 or wave 2. We got Mumra the Ever Living in wave 1 or wave 2. I can't remember which one came first and which one came second, but we got them really, really early in the line. So this is a redesign of that figure. To the best of my knowledge, or to the best of my understanding, it's a completely new sculpt, which is great. If you didn't get Mumra before and you're kind of jumping into Thundercats late, you know, now is a great time to be jumping in, because it seems like they're re-releasing and sort of redesigning and updating a lot of figures, which is cool. But that being said, I have the original Mumra, and I actually kind of prefer it to this one. This one has an alternate head that looks like the mummy headdress, or the pharaoh headdress, the Wiz-Ra headdress, technically. I think the Wiz-Ra and the Mumra in this wave are kind of like from the same episode. I honestly 100% do not remember that episode at all. So to that point, to that end, Wiz-Ra is an easy pass for me, because I don't need, you know, a 7-inch scaled mummy or pharaoh figure. Jagara, I kind of like. I do like. So Jagara is sort of a late addition to the roster of the Thundercats lore. She was pretty late in the final season, and is on New Thundera. I'm not going to remember the details. I love Thundercats, but my knowledge is not encyclopedic like it is for a lot of other people. But basically, Jagara was kind of like in charge of running New Thundera as a planet, basically, because it had to be managed or something. I don't know. Anyways, she is a resident of New Thundera. Think of her as like the Jaga figure of New Thundera. It's definitely a figure that I would pick up, you know, if it wasn't $65. But that's the new price. That's sort of the new going rate for Thundercats Ultimates. When they were 55, when they were $50, they seemed expensive. When they were 55, I was like, I mean, they're cool. It's still kind of worth it. Now that they're 65, I struggle. I struggle to order the new ones. To be perfectly honest, when I look around at all the other products in the market at the prices that they're at, when the Thundercats, when any of the Ultimates were at $55, I was like, well, it's a little bit expensive, but then, you know, if you could get them on sale, you know, you get 10% off their $50. I was like, okay, that's fine. And I was willing to pay 55. I paid 55 for a number of them. Other figures kind of got more expensive, and then that $55 price point seemed a little bit more acceptable to me. It seemed a little bit more tolerable to me, you know, and you know, Super 7 was kind of cutting costs. You know, the packaging got a little bit worse, the accessories got a little bit fewer, and they were still $55. And I was like, okay. I mean, like, I get it. I see what they're doing. At 65, like, and then I kind of felt like all the people complaining about how expensive Thundercats figures, sorry, all the people complaining about how Super 7 Ultimates figures are too expensive at $55. As other stuff started creeping up, I thought that $55 price point, I was like, okay, then it's not that bad. I sort of saw it as an opportunity for Super 7 to kind of correct that issue that they had in the market. But they seem to have kind of doubled down. So they've gone $65 as the new kind of standard price. So Black Series figures went up $2. Super 7 Ultimates figures went up $10. It makes perfect sense. I mean, everything is going up. Don't get me wrong. Everything is going up. It's across the board. It's Hasbro, it's Mattel, it's Super 7, it's Mezco. Everything is getting more expensive. That's the reality. Now, some things that were perceived to be too expensive and or overpriced may or may not be. I'm not here to police who's pricing what, but I saw the opportunity for Super 7 to kind of correct that a little bit. But they don't seem to have done that. And then to go beyond that, Zax. So in this wave, Zax, which is that four-armed kind of bird guy, is without a doubt my favorite, and he's sort of been on my list of characters that I wanted to get. And at $55, no brainer, I would have bought Zax. At $65, I probably would have bought Zax, but Zax is priced, at least on Big Bad Toy Store, at $85. So he's priced at a premium price point figure. He's priced, $20 more than the other figures. And it's not because he gets like more stuff. He comes with some extra hands. He comes with an alternate head. That's pretty much it. That's what they all come with. I don't know. It's weird. I love Super 7. Like I said, I have no problem how they price their things. I'll either buy it or I won't. I'm not going to tell people not to buy stuff. I'm not going to tell people that like Super 7 should be priced a particular way. But I will say my feeling is that these things seem too expensive for what they are. And I'm starting to sort of agree with people a little bit in some respects there. But like I said, if you need these figures, if you want these figures, buy them. Super 7 makes great stuff. I have a lot of Super 7 figures. From the Turtle stuff to the Thundercat stuff to some, random odds and ends. I really do like the Super 7 Ultimate stuff. And, I will continue to buy more of it. I will probably not buy it as much as I was, but that's largely because, I got most of the Turtle figures that I need. I got most of the Thundercats figures that I need. And then beyond that, I don't know what else there would be for me to buy. So it's less it's less to do with the offerings. It's more to do with the fact that I have most of the stuff that I want. So but yeah, that's these guys. Like I said, accessory wise, that's what you're getting with the figures. There was also a time when at $50, at $50, they were coming with more accessories than this. At 55, you're kind of like, and then when they started cutting things, but then they raised the price again, and I was sort of like, okay, well, you can't, I don't know, you can't cut stuff and put the price up. Like that doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't add up for me personally. There you go. There's Zach. So I guess he gets more hands than some of the other figures, but he has more arms than the other figures too. So I don't know. Is the price per arm? Like, is each arm worth another $10? I don't know. Anyway, rant about Super 7 Ultimates over. Let me just very quickly check in with the chat. Let's see. Mr. Ryan Clark says, as someone who is largely unfamiliar with Thundercats, I'm surprised that there were 15 waves worth of figures. I think there's still more waves. I think they could do more waves. I'll be totally honest. I think they could do more. I don't know how successful Robert Bill was. I would buy more Burbles. There's still a handful of characters that I would buy. There's like a Frog Man that I would buy. Who was in one episode. Like literally some of them are like deep cut, like random one episode characters. The Frog guy that I would buy. Um, there's more burbles that I would buy if they did more mutants. Now there weren't really more mutants in the cartoon series, but in the comic books, the mutants, there's more mutants. So if they did more recolors, so if they did, more monkey and type, ape types, if they did more jackal types, I might buy a couple of those. So there's still more. I think there's a couple more, but it really does beg the question: how many waves can the Thundercats go? And you know, will they wrap it up and say that's it, we're done, or will they just sort of put out redesigns and recolors and stuff like that? I don't know. It remains to be seen, I suppose. Spaded One McDysentery says, I never agreed with Super 7's pricing structure. Everything I've ever seen from them seems really expensive for what they offer. It is, I think Super 7 has always positioned themselves as a premium offering, for better or worse. Whether you agree with that or not, it is entirely up to you. I think they've always sort of had the opinion, or sort of had the position, that this is how much we charge and this is sort of a premium offering. And I think there's a gray area there, right? Like it's you look at vinyl figures, like you look at Safubi and you look at the prices on those, you look at the prices on Mondo, across the board, whether it's their articulated figures or their Safubi or their, limited articulation stuff, or their squads or whatever they call them. There's always going to be stuff in the market that is priced higher. There's always going to be stuff that's priced lower. I think what's interesting about Super 7, or what's a little bit unique about Super 7, is that they have an IP like the Thundercats, which for a lot of people feels like an IP that should be available at a particular price point. And then when Super 7 is the only one doing it and they say this is the price on it, people are expensive. People, suggest that it's expensive, but that's largely probably because, what they want to spend is lower, and what they sort of expect to get in a toy is a particular price point or something like that. So I think a lot of that just has to do with people's perspective. Like genuinely, that's what I think. I genuinely think that people's perspective is what dictates whether they see the value in these things or not. Um, and I personally, I love the Super 7 stuff. My opinion, my perspective on the price structure goes back and forth. I like it and I buy it, but I wish it was cheaper. But when I look at some of the other things that I buy, I don't really necessarily think that it's too expensive. Like, it's just, yeah. I mean, I wish they were $30. I wish all toys were just $30. It's like, here's your toy, it's $30, take it, and I'd be like, okay, great, it's a new toy, it's $30. I'm okay with that. I don't really. Yeah, I don't know. The sort of collector brain sort of kicks into overdrive sometimes when it comes to pricing, because I don't really compare pricing. I look at a thing and I go, okay, what are they asking price wise? Cool. Do I want it? X amount of dollars worth. It's either yes or no. So I either buy it because the answer is yes, or I don't buy it because the answer is no. I don't really have the struggle of like, oh, this company should price this way. This should be this price. I will compare, admittedly, and I've done it before on the show. I kind of look at two different products and I go, I don't understand why this one is this price. And usually that's me trying to sort of rationalize or justify pricing so that I can decide whether or not I want to buy it. That's collector math going on in my head. Larry's Geeky World says, I think I'm done with Thundercats Ultimates except for the rest of the Lunatics and Hammerhand's crew if they do the rest of them. There you go. There's characters, to Mr. Ryan Clark's point, that are still kind of needed and or wanted in the Super 7 line. I think there's one Lunatic left, and I think two of Hammerhand's crew, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't get the Lunatics or Hammerhand's crew. I did the Thundercats, I did the mutants, and then I have a couple odd characters here and there, but I'm not getting all the bad guys. Larry Reed, I'm in LA next week for the first show of the year. Nice. I'll be in LA-ish at the end of the month for WonderCon. Solo Sinner says that Zach's figure at USD $85 is crazy. This, I mean, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Will I buy Zach's at $85? No. Will I buy Zach's if he goes on sale for like closer to, 60, $65? Probably. But $85, I just can't. It's not but that's just down to it's not a character that I need that much. It's not an IP that I am invested in enough that I would pay. So again, collector math, value is a perception. Price is an objective thing. Value is a subjective thing. So Lumix says, I bought a ton of Super 7, but I'm in the same boat as you. Decided I won't be buying Super 7 anymore unless it's on deep discount. Feeling a little burned out on the quality of the 03 Turtles figures. Yeah, that's true. Those 03 Turtles figures, I love those figures. But I'm seriously considering selling them. Because I don't need the rest of the 03, the other ones. I don't need... the price is just too much and my space is too limited. So they're just sort of not quite making the cut. Let's see. Yeah, spaded one McDysentery. This is just it, right? We're in a world of $30 Storm Arena Sagats and $95 retail price Mezco Marvel figures. You gotta give a little here. Yeah, it's you can't have everything. You can't have everything. So you got to pick and choose, and you got to figure out what makes the most sense to you personally. Which brands, which figures offer you the value that you need to be parted with your hard-earned money. So Mr. Ryan Clark says a premium offering shouldn't come with consistent QC issues. That is a very good point. Gatey's Toy says, love me. Love we get a Jagara. Such a great design. Yes. And an interesting character, a cool figure. Yeah. Premium price at least. Well, I mean, I think Super 7 suffers from the same disease that like Supreme does. The company Supreme. I'm sure you guys all know the company Supreme. More recently, Kith, I think, which is a company that I don't know. Companies that sort of just position themselves as premium things because you can just tell people you're a premium offering and then people just kind of go with it, I guess. I mean, Super 7 Ultimates to me are action figures. They're the same as Animal Warriors of the Kingdom or Marvel Legends or whatever. I just have to wrap my head around, okay, do I need the character enough to pay the price? And for Zax at 85, the answer is no. For Jagara at 65, the answer is probably not. So it's just, I'm not mad. I'm not mad about it. I'm not angry that Super 7 has priced their things the way they price them. It just means I'm not going to buy them. It's that simple. Josh Brown says, appreciate Adam's ability to be super diplomatic. I mean, you could drive yourself crazy. If I said this before and I'll say it again, if toys make you angry, you should not be collecting toys. You've missed the point. Toys should be fun, and if they're not fun, find something that is. Because if it's not fun, it's work. I don't know. Collecting Brothers, I'm excited to see what Mezco does with Thundercats. Yes, me too. Who knows? Maybe they'll be $85. And then you'll be like, yeah, this is definitely not making sense. Let's see. I'm gonna have to skip some comments because we got more to talk about. I'm reading them all, but I'm not going to read them out loud necessarily. So when I say I'm skipping them, I do read them all. It's just sometimes I need to like move the conversation along. Yeah, this is Spaded One with Dysentery. Definitely a gray area when it comes to price, especially for things you're a fan of that don't get much love. I literally just paid $72 for a Skullomania figure last night. I'm part of the problem. I don't even know what Skullomania is, but $72 for something that you're passionate about that you need in your collection doesn't seem that crazy. I'm there too. I'm part of the problem. I buy stuff even when people are like, that price is nuts, and I'm like, well, that's the price now. If I don't buy it, it might be more expensive later. So let's see. Josh, I have just decided that Josh Brown Customs is now a premium offering. Dude, go for it. Just that's what I'm saying. It's like you do what you want, and then it's whether the market will bear it, right? Like that's how it works. That's how pricing works. You price something the way you want, and then it's whether the market will allow that price to be viable and sustainable or not. There you go. Mod Extra GC is here. Good to have you, buddy. Birkin bags. There you go. Collecting Brother says Birkin bags. We are premium. Look at our prices. To some extent, yeah. To some extent, it's sort of like put it out there. Say take it or leave it. And sometimes people will take it. Other times they'll leave it. It's the risk that you kind of run. But you can put something out at $30 and people go like, whatever you do, no matter what you do, whatever price you put it out at, people are going to be critical. There's gonna, anyway, that's a whole different, maybe that should be a topic one day. Maybe that should be a topic with a couple guests where we debate the value of like certain lines or certain figures and what have you. So Gady's Toy says, yeah, I balked at the Ghostbusters, but this was the line I always wanted, so had to eat it. I think you mean the Mondo 112 scale Ghostbusters line, which I have heard great things about those figures. That's the other thing, is that I've heard that, those Mondo Ghostbuster figures are great. They're everything that people hope they would be, that the paint apps are great, that their articulation is nice and smooth, that the accessories are on point. So yeah, I mean, if that's what things cost to get them, then it's just like, okay, can I afford it or not? You kind of, what do? You buy it or you don't. Moving on to some virtual cons. So Walmart Collector Con is coming up on the 19th and 20th of March, I guess. I don't know what is in Walmart Collector Con apart from this weird zombie dire viper, whatever he's called. I don't even know what this G.I. Joe classified figure is called. But I included it in here because it's going to be up March 19th and 20th. And I wanted to like have this moment as a reminder to myself that I need to be, aware of that, because I want to get a couple of them. Apparently there's a Skeletor, and then apparently there's a blue box. I don't know what that is. Probably Pokemon. I can't make out what it is. I don't know, and I don't care. The G.I. Joe classified figure. I love this dire tech stuff. I love I love Crystal Ball. I love the dire viper. I love this dire guy trooper. Definitely gonna pick up a few of these. I've said it before. The more sci-fi classified gets, the more weird classified gets, the more I tend to like it. I don't need realistic military. There are some great realistic military lines out there that I don't collect because it's not for me. These look cool. Gady's Toy says, I do want that Skeletor. Very early mini comics. There you go. I don't know what it is. It's Skeletor with some gold on him. Mod Extra GC, Dire Tech Night Creeper. There you go. So that is the name of this figure. I won't remember that. I won't know what his name is once he's on my shelf. The point is, I just need to get them on the shelf. Mr. Ryan Clark says, I really wish that Dire Trooper had a different translucent head. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I wish there was less of a Cthulhu kind of thing going on here. Like that there was an alternate, less extreme one. This is the same head that we're getting on Crystal, or that we got on Crystal Ball. And that's okay. I've kind of wrapped my head around this in that I'm actually going to have multiples of these heads, and I'm going to have them on sort of different characters. And I had this head on Crystal Ball, but I'm going to put the human head back on Crystal Ball because then he's Crystal Ball. I had this head on Crystal Ball because this head is rad and such a cool head sculpt. But then I kind of was bummed out because then I don't have Crystal Ball. I have this Cthulhu looking guy. So to some extent, I'm actually kind of excited to be getting more of these heads. I'm excited to be getting more figures that we can use the Dire Tech stuff on, because then Crystal Ball can go back to being Crystal Ball. He's over there. You can't see him because he's off screen, but he has that head on. And it looks so good. The Dire Tech stuff, I love the Dire Tech stuff. Nolan, a more appropriate name will be CancelCon. I know that Walmart tends to cancel people's orders. Target does the same thing. Don't worry, we're going to talk about Target's haulathon too in a minute. But strongly agree on the head. There should be another sort of alternate. Yeah. Mr. Ryan Clark says, thing is, Nolan, Walmart pre-orders are actually pretty reliable in Canada. That's been my experience as well. So long as you get your order in relatively early, I haven't had really any issues. They don't ship super fast. People in the US tend to get these figures earlier than we do, but I don't think I've actually had any of my pre-orders canceled. I had one issue with a Hammond collection Spinosaurus. That was the only one that I've had an issue with. But Mod Extra GC says, some guys I know suggested a translucent Oni mask or something. Missed opportunity. That would be a good call. And they've done the Oni mask with the Blue Ninjas, and they already have it. It's molded. They could totally use that. That would have been a great opportunity to reuse a part that they'll probably never reuse now. Jeff Morris, you could just buy a second Crystal Ball. I mean, logically, that's the answer, yes, but but I don't want to. I'd rather buy two of these. Spaded One McDysentery, Target Haulathon, and I are mortal enemies. I was a Nekatoon TMNT collector, and that con is straight up disrespectful. Moving on to the Target Haulathon. So this is the NECA offering. Probably not anything that I'm gonna buy, if I'm being perfectly honest. I like this stuff, but I don't love NECA. What have I bought from NECA? I bought the Ronin Turtles, like the first two, the armored and the unarmored first release. I don't love NECA. I don't love NECA as a company. So Haulathon's not really my thing. Super Grover looks dope, but as I said last week, I'm not collecting Sesame Street. So I think it's probably going to be a pass for me. The one thing that I might pull the trigger on if I see them are these guys. The Stansakai Turtles and the new Usagi Yojimbo. I think they all look really, really good. This is a style that I love. I love Stansakai's art style. Do I need another set of turtles? Is really the question that I'm struggling with. Usagi Yojimbo, I think, would fit with Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. I think it would fit with some of the other stuff that I have, and so I think it even to some extent fits with Super 7 Ultimates. And from the sounds of it, they're never going to do Usagi. So I'm kind of feeling like this one I might pick up. I missed I missed the sort of samurai robe version, and I've kicked myself ever since. I should have picked that one up. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I feel the same way about NECA as a lot of people feel about Super 7, and I just can't get there. I just can't sort of mentally and emotionally get to purchasing NECA stuff. But that's just me. Faded one week dysentery. Surprise! Here's $600 plus worth of stuff dropped with little notice that you can't buy or search for online. You get to drive to 5 targets in a circle every day for a week. Or just wait and they like re-release it 3 months later and it sits on shelves forever. And you don't know which one it's going to be. You don't know whether it's going to be impossible to find or they're going to have a whole shelf of Tetsus. You just don't know. Gatey's Toy says NECA plastic is terrifying. Might as well be made of glass. They're not all as bad, but and I've heard that they've gotten better. Like I said, I don't have enough NECA to really make a judgment in that respect. I had heard that many times. I'd seen that many times. Yeah, buy them or don't buy them. Do what you want. Ryan Clark says, I have American friends looking out for Super Grover for me. Otherwise, it won't show up here for 6 months. Yeah, exactly. Larry redid NECA Gargoyles, and I know that there's kind of mixed feelings about those. Mezco has a lot of the same issues. Yeah, I mean, that's... Yeah, I mean, Mezco has a lot of the same issues in the sense that, you know, quality control is not perfect and customer service does not back up the issues. That's what I've heard and seen. As I said, I've not really experienced that with either company too much of an extent. My minor sort of quibbles aside, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, do your research. If you love NECA and you've not had any issues, buy all the NECA stuff you want. The same goes for Super 7, same goes for Mezco, same goes for all these companies. Buy whatever you want. You know, but be objective about, you know, the issues these companies have. I think a lot of people struggle with that part of it. Sakai turtles look good. NECA admittedly gets better with their turtles every time they make a new version. Brian Brink, I really like these turtles, but do I need them? I think yes. That's fair. Like I said, everybody's different, right? I have at least one set of turtles that I want to sell. It's hard for me to sell things because I always buy them because I love them, but I have one set of turtles more than I need right now. If I didn't have that set, I might be more inclined to get these ones, but that's the sticking point for me. Is I know that I have too many turtles already. To add this is you know, irresponsible. Josh Brown, I think all of these are first to market for Holothon. I don't think anything is truly exclusive. That's a very good point. Jeff Morris says, I only have more recent D&D, horror, and Sesame Street NECA figures, and so far, no problems. Yeah, just might have just jinxed yourself. Is there a reason Target won't ship to Canada? I don't know. Probably just because they don't want to and they don't have to. There are products that they're not allowed to sell cross-border too. So my guess is that just the sort of logistical, you know, setting your system up so that some things can be shipped and some things can't be shipped, and then having to differentiate that within the system, because the system has to be set up to sort of block those things and then to be able to communicate with those customers that want to buy those things but get mad because they can't get everything. Like, the answer is it's probably just not worth it for them. That's honestly the answer. They probably just don't care enough. The market's too small. They're not going to bother. Nothing about this is responsible. Get the turtles. I will say this. I am in Canada, so I can't order them from Target. So really it's a matter of it's one of two things. Either they pop up on ecollectibles.ca and then I go, yeah, I can buy them. Or I see them in a Target when I'm at a convention. That's probably what's going to happen. Usagi Yojimbo, I might, ask a couple people to keep their eye out. But the turtles are more like, if I see it, I might. But if I never see them, like if they never sort of come across my, my field of view, I would be totally fine without them. Mr. Ryan Clark says Target didn't survive in Canada long enough for us to get toy exclusives. Man, were they here for like 2 years? Maybe they realized very quickly logistics in Canada sucks. Josh Brown Toy says you can order from the Holothon site if in Canada, right? Nope. No, you cannot. They Target won't ship cross border. Target won't. Target actually, it's difficult to pay with a Canadian credit card, so you have to use PayPal. I think, or there's a workaround for it. But anyway, no, Canadians can't get the Holothon stuff unless somebody gets it for them, or you ship it to a Canadian address and pay. It's frustrating. Oh, Josh Brown Toys. I think there's a non-Target Holothon site or something. I think at some point there kind of was, but it was terrible. And I think it didn't work well. And I would never bother with it. I don't need these enough for the headache. Hello, Allison. Good to have you. Moving on from Stan Sakai's beautiful turtles and rabbit and weird little dinosaur thing. He's in the corner. Can't remember what this guy's called, but there's a little guy in the bottom corner there. I love Stan Sakai's world. I love that. I love his Usagi Yojimbo world. I would love to see more figures, from that world. All the critters, all the animals, the rhinos, the other, the other characters, all of it. Maybe one day, we'll see. Moving on to Galactic Valor. Moving back to physical convention stuff. Or moving back to Holothon. There we go. Fox Forge Toys is very, very, very close to fulfilling their Kickstarter stuff, their Galactic Valor Kickstarter. And so they have created these 2 translucent kind of prototype type figures that they are releasing as what they're calling the Solar Shard series. Very, very limited numbers, 150 pieces of this blue figure and this red figure. I am a sucker for translucent, and I like the Galactic Valor stuff, so I actually had Jason pick up one of each of these for me at Zolocon. But these figures are actually available right now. If you whoops, that's not what I meant to do. If you pop over to the Fox Forge Toys website, which I have added the link for in the description down below the video there, you can get these figures right now. They are Galactic Valor figures. They're available in the shop. You could pre-order the new stuff too from the Kickstarter as well. It's all up there. I think everything except for the Kickstarter exclusive is up there. And so these Solar Shard figures are available. The Solar Shard Vrek Hunter and the Solar Shard Navrok Soldier. Basically, you're getting the Shard Vrek is basically the same as this guy here, the Vrek Trapper, just in translucent, and then the Shard Navrok Soldier is basically the same as the Starshock Commando. But like I said, minimum Minimum sort of number of minimal number of figures, 150 units per, which is very, very low. And they've sold a few through the sort of Kickstarter campaign page, as well as a few at the conventions. And so stock is getting very low, and I doubt they will remake these. So if you were at all interested, go and get them now. I checked to sort of see what the stock levels were at, and as of when I sort of set this up, there were 47 left of the red one and 50 left of the blue one. So not many left. I'm going to delete these from my cart because I don't want to be getting emails that say, hey, do you want these figures now? I already have them, so I don't need them. But anyways, let's go back to this. These look great. These are really, really fun figures. I'm excited to get these in hand. This is sort of the first offering for the Galactic Valor line from Fox Forge Toys. I backed the Kickstarter figures as well, so I'll be getting those sooner rather than later, I hope. But in the meantime, I'm very, very excited to be getting these. Josh Brown says I'm a sucker too and ordered them. I think in the US there's like a $5 flat rate shipping, so it's pretty cheap too. So yeah, definitely. If you're interested in these, I would not wait on these at all. Oh, I want to see Mezco do Usagi Yojimbo too. That would be great. That's where Mezco's soft goods I think would be phenomenal on a figure. But anyway, I don't think they're going to do that. Everybody has that license, so they don't probably need to get it themselves. Yeah, Galactic Valor. There they are. Simon Toast did the photography for this. Great guy, Simon, who I have met. Just really nice dude. Great. I like these pictures as well. So shout out to Simon. There's what you get with the blue figure and the red figure. So you get a figure stand, lots of extra hands, extra feet, and some weapons for $40. So if you're interested at all in those, don't wait. Go and order them now. Otherwise you probably won't get them. I don't think they're going to be around that long. They just sort of posted what was available after Zolocon, and yeah, it's pretty limited stock. So moving on to Kickstarter stuff. We're going to talk about Cryptoids in a moment, but first I just very quickly want to check in on this. The Kickstarter for the Mythic Legions role-playing game, $822,000. They're getting close to $850,000, which is another unlock goal. If you haven't backed this and you intend to back this, what are you waiting for? Get over there and get your backing in. Add to the numbers. Even if you just add, a very, very minimal order and then sort of add to it as the campaign goes on. Stand up and be counted. They seem to be unlocking things for backer numbers too. So when they hit certain backer goals, they seem to be adding things to the campaign, as well as when they hit financial goals. So as I said, every little bit counts, and sort of the progress that they're making, it's pretty steady. I mean, they're doing well, and I truly believe that this Kickstarter campaign could hit 2 million. So I think they'll definitely hit all the stretch goals and stuff that they had. I think the last stretch goal that they have posted is for like 1.5 million, and I think that's, in my experience, that's pretty much a lock now. I'm scrolling through all of this because I talked about it a bunch last time, and I'm not going to bother again. I just wanted to sort of take a look. Yeah, stretch goals up to 1.35 million, and add-on unlocks up to 1.5 million, and then from there, who knows? I mean, they could go beyond that. There's a new unlock figure at 1 million. There's another one at 1.2, and then another one at 1.5. They unlocked a figure at 2,000 backers, which was sort of an unannounced thing. So like I said, they seem to be sort of adding and adapting, and sort of like, there's more and more as they go. So, keep the excitement going. As I said, if you're going to back it, if you're planning to back this, even for $1, get in there, pledge your dollar, add yourself to the number of backers, add your dollar to the pledge goal. Because the quicker these things go on, the more the people that are on the fence kind of buy in and sort of go, okay, yeah, I'll pull the trigger and so on. So Kickstarter is a funny thing. They don't charge you right away. You're not paying for this right away. You're paying for it at the end of the campaign. And I know that there's people that sort of go, well, okay, I'll wait for, a paycheck. I got to figure out how my money is and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. Like I said, pledge for what you can now. And if you can add more later, do that. If you can't pledge for anything right now, that's totally cool too. I'm just saying, if you're going to put $100 into this campaign on the last day, why not say that you'll do it today? Because you don't get charged until the end. That's true of all Kickstarters. Which brings me to Cryptoids. Cryptoids is the project of the Yes Have Some podcast crew, the toy, well, 3/4 of the Toy Anxiety crew, Craig, Abby, and Jacob. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge cryptids guy. I don't like, monsters. People are like, oh, I hope they do this monster and this cryptid, and oh, this isn't technically a cryptid. This is technically what I don't even know what officially is a cryptid or what isn't. This is Cryptoids. This is Cryptoids War for the Green Planet. This is a Kickstarter that is launching on Tuesday, March the 10th, 2 days from now. These are figures that I'm really, really excited about. They look really fun. They look like toys. I like that they look like toys. They look like they're going to be, relatively limited articulation, relatively limited accessories and things like that. And I'm okay with that because these look like a lot of fun. These are fun toys being made by cool people. And so I'm here for it. I'm happy to support, happy to back it. Yeah, I've sort of gone through this trying to figure out, like, okay, what figures do I want? What figures, I think I need everything. So I might be sort of in the all-in tier. We'll see. Here's sort of a size scale comparison between the different figures. So the big guys, the Sasquatch and the Yeti, are about 7 inches, with the Reptoids looking like they're about 6. The Mothman being about 5, and then the Greys being 4, 3.5 to 4. Hard to say. It's hard to say, because these are all going to be renders, how they'll all kind of come out in the end. But I do like the fact that there's a decent amount of difference in terms of the scale, in terms of just sort of the overall look. I've been trying to figure out where there's parts being reshared and what's unique molds. It looks like they're using every mold at least twice, which is good. It's efficient. But yeah, we'll see. I love their campaign. I love the way that they're sort of presenting this as like a 1980s kind of like newspaper slash kind of paper magazine kind of thing. They've got videos that go along with it. Definitely check it out if you haven't before. I've got the links in the description below there, both to the campaign page where you can get notified when they launch, as well as the Instagram. So if you want to check that out, by all means, do that. If you're not into it, that's okay too. As I said, the campaign launches in 2 days. And again, if you're thinking about supporting this campaign, 2 days from now on Tuesday, get in there, add a figure, add a few bucks just as a support, whatever, and add to the numbers, because the momentum builds, as people back and as people sort of jump in. So there's some pricing there, with the biggest figures being 55, the smallest being 35. And then they have all-in bundles and all that kind of stuff. More on that. I'm probably going to do a whole video on this next weekend, to be perfectly honest. So I don't want to go too deep on this one. But as I said, launching in 2 days, but also there's an early bird backer bonus of glow in the dark Bigfoot armor. I don't know the specific details about this. I didn't ask. I kind of want to just wait and sort of find out on the day, on Tuesday. But it looks like there's sort of an accessory set that comes in like a glow in the dark for the Yeti, for early backers. So, pay attention and sort of stay tuned for that, because I know that I don't want to miss out on getting this. This looks awesome. And sort of satisfies my sort of glow in the dark craving. All right. we're at an hour. I guess we should just probably wrap it up now. That's all I got. That's here. I'll share this. This is the Cryptoids Toys Instagram. It looks good. It looks fun. They've done a fantastic job, of the sort of pre-campaign, way better than we did with Space Zombies from Mars. I'm definitely going to be taking some tips and some pointers from them, and trying to figure out, who did what, because I'm not good at this stuff. I don't know how to do some of this stuff. Or plus I don't have the time for a lot of this stuff. Oh, I was also going to mention Spero Toys at Zolocon. I don't know why this just totally slipped through. Spero Toys at Zolocon had some of the prototypes, and I'm not gonna, talk too much about them. But yeah, the Brawler prototypes were on display. I think people, were getting hands on them. I saw lots of pictures. But Jason has also had them in hand and was sort of done videos. So if you want to check those out, go over to Spero Toys on Instagram. The Void in that big thick box, because he's a big thick figure with all that stuff on his back. The other ones have just a sort of a normal width. This figure I love, this prototype. This is very much what I think of when I think of test shots. The weird plastic parts that are wrong. So he has the wrong feet. He actually has Kali Prime's feet. But yeah, go check out those samples if you haven't already over on the Spero Toys Instagram. Yeah, there we go. What else we got? I'm going through my tabs here to just make sure I didn't miss anything. All right. Mr. Ryan Clark says those Galactic Valor picks are the most visually interesting product shots that I've ever seen. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. They really do a good job of calling out the fact that they're translucent. So Simon did a great job of like backlighting them, I think, to sort of get that sort of glowing effect. Nolan is saying it's pretty decent that they do the pay in 3. Yeah, so all Kickstarter projects now have the ability to do pay in 3 over a certain threshold. I think it's like 100 and I don't know, it's 175 Canadian dollars. So if you back for anything over 175 Canadian dollars, you're able to do the pay in 3, which is great. Especially for bigger projects where it's a few $100. So you can sort of stretch the payment out. So you don't really even have to worry about that. Like, oh, I got to wait for a payday thing. Yeah, definitely helps. Josh Brown Toy says, I can't decide if I'm in on this, not because I don't like him, but hot on its heels is Von Burke's Kickstarter. I'll probably go in and maybe limit to the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. Yeah, that's totally fair. Totally fair. Gators Toy says, just enjoy that one guy. Looks like the pink, white, blue popsicle. Josh Brown, since there is an early bird backing, did they announce a time for Tuesday? Not that I'm aware of. All the more reason to go sign up for the email. So once the Kickstarter launches, Kickstarter actually sends out emails to anybody that sort of signed up for that list. So you'll know within the first hour or so. And I don't think the early bird thing is going to be like within 10 minutes. I think it'll be a units thing. I don't know that they'll limit it. And even if they do, I think it'll probably be a couple hundred of those units minimum. So you should be fine. Larry's Geeky World says, so looking forward to those to start shipping. Yeah, you and me both, dude. You and me both. Nolan says the Brawlers are shipping first out of the new waves. Yes, they are. The Brawlers should be shipping relatively soon. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we kind of expect the Brawlers to be, shipped to us and sort of being shipped out like this summer. And then the reptiles we're hoping will be like really, really hot on their tail there. Well, lack of tails. They don't have tails. The reptiles will be next, and then it's probably gonna be the heroines and then the speedsters with the birds fitting in there somewhere too. The birds are being done at a different factory, so it'll be sort of somewhere in between there. So, yeah. Um, do you guys want to see another one of the updated decos for Space Zombies from Mars? I got nothing else. That's all the news that I have to share. So, um, but I did prepare a slide of one more of the updates. Um, because even, I mean, even getting to where we thought we would be with Space Zombies from Mars a month ago has been difficult. All this stuff is hard. Making toys is hard. I think until you do it yourself, it's hard to understand like how frustrating making toys is. Everything takes longer than you think it's going to take, and it's normal for things to get delayed and just things to happen, but it feels like every single step takes longer than it should, and takes longer than you expect, and takes longer than you anticipate, and it's honestly like no one's fault. Like no one in particular is like dragging their feet. It's just you're talking about this thing that's happening on a global scale. Like take Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, for example, right? The Brawler Wave. Jason and I discuss designs. Jason and I discuss, some of the logistics. We discuss how things are going to go for conventions. But then, as far as production, we're dealing with a factory in China, and we're dealing with, the communication delays that causes, as well as the shipping delays that causes, and like just on and on and on. Like it's hard. It's hard. It's time consuming. It's expensive, and then you have folks that just don't know that and don't really care, and they don't have to. It's not the buyer, the collector's prerogative to care that it's hard to make toys. But then you have people that are sort of like, oh, I'm mad and I feel like we're being conned because it's taking longer than they said it would, and it's it's like ah okay. Um, I what do you say? Like, what can you say to somebody that's like upset that it's taking longer than it should? We think it's taking longer than it should, and we are telling people that, and people are like mad at us. And it's like, you can't win. You can't win. And don't worry, I'll show you that redeco. But Josh Brown, very, very poignant question. Um, but it's way, way more complicated than this. Josh Brown asks, do the factories prioritize larger companies, or is it truly queue based? Um, none of the none of the independent toy lines are being made in the same factory, or at least to my knowledge, none of the independent toy lines are being produced in the same factories as Hasbro or Mattel. Um, or like the really big guys like that. I know that NECA uses the same company that some people are using. Um, there's other kind of mid-level companies that are using the same companies. I know that I know some of the other companies that are using the factory that Spero Toys has been using. Space Zombies from Mars will be done in one of the factories that deals with the Four Horsemen. Um, so there's not that many factories, but the small companies tend to be using the factories that kind of specialize in small lines. Um, so it's not like Hasbro's coming in and like throwing a wad of cash down and saying no, make ours first. To the point of like, is it truly queue based? It is truly queue based, but the queue isn't like it's not Okay, here's a good example. It's not like if you go to McDonald's and there's 5 people in the line and you're, 5th in line and you get to the front of the line and you place your order and then you stand to the side and the next person orders and they kinda make the food in order. It's a little bit like, it's a little bit more like if you went to McDonald's and you were 5th in line and you got to the front of the line and you said, "Okay, I want a burger." And they said, "Okay, great. Here is here's your sort of blueprint for your burger. Go stand in that line." And then, okay, so you go to that line, and the guy in front of you wanted, chicken nuggets, so he's in a different line, and the guy behind you just wants an apple pie, so he goes in a different line. So, like, the queue isn't like a linear queue. The queue is like, okay, next up for this step is you. And then once that step is done, then you get in another queue for the next step. But all the steps have their own queues. And that's where a lot of the delays happen. It's not like once you're in the queue, they start on the engineering, then they do the molds, then they do the paint apps and the packaging, and then they do the production, and then they do the packing, and then they do the shipping. It's like, okay, you get a step finished and then you're in the next queue. And in any one of those queues there could be a backup. In any one of those queues there could be a delay. In any one of those queues there could be somebody whose project takes longer. Uh to any one of them, there could be an issue with your project. And if your project becomes a problem to the point where it has to kind of step out of the queue, so to speak, this virtual queue, it's not real. That's the thing. It's not a real queue. You don't get to sort of go next. You kind of get bumped to the back of the line. And then it's sort of like, hey, fix your shit. And then when you get up to the front of the line, hopefully you don't get kicked to the back of the line again. So it's way more complicated and way more nuanced than it should be. But that's the reality. Okay, back to the fun of making toys. The Nameless Toy Company presents Space Zombies from Mars. Yeah, we're making good progress. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. Like I said, there's a lot that I can't share. And so to that point, I do want to share something. Felt like it's been a while. I've kind of decided that like once a month I'll have something kind of new to share with you guys, because you're here and because you deserve it. We appreciate the support. I appreciate the support. Um, I keep saying we're gonna have more soon, and then kind of not following through. But I can give you some little. I can sprinkle in a little bit here and there. So this is the update, of course, to the Guy Garrison figure. For anybody that sort of can't remember what it used to look like, on the left of the screen there, next to me, this one right here next to me is the original one that we had in the Kickstarter. On the right is the updated deco for Guy Garrison. And the updates in the deco, I think, make them look a little bit cleaner, a little bit more polished. They make them feel a little bit more like a cohesive line. What do I mean by that? Well, certain details on the suits were different across all of the suits. We've streamlined some of the details. The reason for that was that, if you have a space program like this, you're probably not making every suit, to like, I don't think that every astronaut kind of gets to go in and go like, oh, I want the straps this color, and I want this color, and I want this color. So we kind of decided that, a lot of it would be standardized. A lot of parts would look the same across all of the suits. And so that was the inspiration for some of the redesign. And I didn't think to put the two new suits next to each other versus the two old suits. Maybe I'll do that for, a future video, so that you kind of have a better idea of what I'm talking about when I say that. Because when I show you both green suits next to each other, you'll see the details that are a little bit different. But when I go to the next slide, which is the next suit color, you won't necessarily make the connection of what's the same across them. So I'll have another slide in the future for that. I'll just keep building these slides up until the point where I just do a whole show and I go over all the space zombies from our stuff. Sound good? Great. Let's move on to the next one, which is the new one. So this is the Guy Garrison. This is the new version of Julia Stryker. So this is the update to Julia Stryker. This actually ended up being kind of the template for the base. There was a lot going on with this particular figure that I really, really liked, and a lot of what is on this figure already remained unchanged. The other astronauts got more changes to them than this figure did. Because quite simply, this one was the most balanced. This one seemed, this kind of made the most sense when we were looking at, okay, which details are we changing on which figures? This one was the one that we kind of used as the reference point and said, okay, how do we tweak this one? And then how do we sort of have those details, migrate over to, all the other suits. So like I said, as I add more suits, I'll be able to show you sort of a little bit more specifically, how those things evolved. This is the difference between the old suit and the new suit. Josh Brown, that's a detail right there. The sharp eye, because that's a detail that got changed. So on all of the suits, around the rings, they're gonna have that color detail. And if I'm just sort of going back in the slides here, you can see that originally the military just had a black ring. Most of the astronauts had different colors, or there was like 3 different colors across 5 different suits. 4 different suits, sorry. There was like 3 different colors across 4 different suits, if I remember correctly, but now they're all going to be uniform. So they will all have, the colored rings. Now, there is a slight update. We're not 100% certain if they're all going to be red. There might be a slight change there as well. But anyway, here is the update to the science specialist suit. So it's still the blue suit. The base color is still the same, but lots of little details got changed. There, my cursor is up so I can show you this. Hopefully it doesn't skip through slides now while I'm doing this. We added the tampo for the ISA logo on the chest there. The chest box was one thing. This one hasn't changed much compared to this one, but on some of the other ones, it's changed pretty dramatically. One thing that we did change, all the connection points. So these would be like an anodized metal, like on the actual suits. So we just went with sort of like a gunmetal. So you got the cuff on the bicep, the cuff on the wrist, cuff on the thigh, and then the cuff on the boot are all like a gunmetal metallic. On the original, there were like black straps for some of them, and then metallic straps for others. And it seemed like all those connection points would probably use the same material. So, we kind of streamlined that. We streamlined things like the box. So while these look pretty similar, you'll see pretty, more dramatic changes for some of the other suits. And same goes for like a lot of little details like this sort of collar piece here is blue, but on some of them, it didn't match the color of the suit. It was either gray or black or what have you. I think the military one is a good example. You can see there at the top, it was black on that piece. Then it switched to green because we now have it uniform where that piece matches, the color of the suit across all the suits. So that's kind of, where we're at. And then, like I said, just little details like the little buckle on the strap here being gray. On this one, it was black. Now, it probably in production would have ended up gray anyway. But just sort of attention to detail for some of that stuff was important. So there I go. My cursor has a mind of its own. Yeah. So just streamlining some details, tidying some things up, stuff like that. So there you go. There's the new updated Julia Stryker. We're getting new paint masters done. If you are going to be at WonderCon, you may get to see them. I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to have them there or not. But yeah. There you go. Uh, Love the red rings. Definitely more of a callback to real EMU. Hope she's still coming with zombie grabbing claws. Yeah, as far as the actual offering of like what we're doing with the figures, not much has changed, if anything, for the figures. It's really just deco and just updating some of that stuff to just make it a little bit more streamlined, just a little bit cleaner, a little bit more polished. Um, One red, one blue. Yeah, that's so yes, on a that is technically what they would have on an actual suit. There's one red and one blue, so that's what we're probably gonna do. That just didn't quite make this version of the art, the render update. But stay tuned on the Paint Masters. You'll probably see one red, one blue. Larry says looking good. They all look great. I'm liking what I see. I will say this. I've shown you the two that I'm the least excited about. The orange and the white, I think look phenomenal now. They're probably the most dramatic. Like the white is probably the most dramatic difference from the original. But that'll probably be the one that I show you guys last. The orange looks really, really good now too. I think it's probably the orange for me is probably the one that's made the most dramatic positive difference in terms of the aesthetic. But then I think the overall, like when you look at all the suits together, when you look at all the suits, the old ones, and then all the suits, the new ones, it honestly, I think it just looks so much more like a cohesive line, which was sort of the reason behind the change. So, and we had time, it's kind of a blessing in disguise that we had the time to sort of adjust that and fine tune it and kind of like just tweak little things where the old ones weren't bad, but the new ones are just better. Um, Josh Brown says, I want to see the medic in good time. And Mr. Ryan Clark says, any changes to Spike Spectre? Don't worry, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll cover all of them. But the whole point is that I want, we have time. I've said this. We're not, our Kickstarter is probably not going to launch until sort of towards the end of the year. So I'm not sort of trying to rush through, revealing everything. We got to get a whole lot of stuff dialed in before we do the Kickstarter again. I need to start putting a lot more time into back into Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Because I see other people that have done a fantastic. Basically, I need to reach out to Craig, have him give me a roadmap because I think what he's done has been phenomenal. What him and the rest of the team for Cryptoids have done has been absolutely phenomenal, and so I'm definitely gonna kind of reach out to them for some ideas, some pointers because they've done a fantastic job. We didn't. That's plain and simple. The first Kickstarter was run as well as we could at the time, but we can do better and we will do better. So Josh says need a long social media lead in for sure. Yes, I think that's what we're sort of seeing is the key, is like a kind of targeted planned out. I think incorrectly thought that having your Kickstarter page up and having people sort of sign up for that page before it was live. I always thought that was kind of like, who cares? You're going to get people to sign up for it and they're never going to click the email that they get when you go live. But you don't know until you do it. And so that's I think the goal is to have, one of those sort of preload pages much further out than we did last time. Have more of a campaign than we did. Have more depth as far as like what we share before, showing more about the figures, showing more about the comic, sharing a little bit more of the music, all that kind of stuff before the campaign actually goes live, so that when the campaign goes live, it's just a matter of people putting their money where they anticipated putting it, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. Yeah. How long until I can give you my money? That's the thing. We don't want to rush it. We we have our sort of markers, our markers in the process that we need to sort of clear before before we're comfortable doing the Kickstarter, let alone announcing the date of it or whatever. So we're still working on it, and we're making progress, not as quickly as we would like, but that we're now learning is the way this goes. Mr. Ryan Clark says, if you need any help, let me know. Yeah, we will. We'll put it out there. We'll put out feelers, when the time comes. And yes, I haven't forgotten about the shirt. But I'll message you after. Just sort of waiting for the opportunity, and it came and it went, and I forgot. That was on me, but you will get a shirt sooner rather than later. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got. Hopefully you guys enjoy. It is 3:30. You do still have another. I'd take another shirt. Yeah, we're gonna do. Well, I'll when we get there, I'll announce it. The shirts will become available at some point in the future. I'll say that much. But yeah, we're gonna do more. We're gonna have more sort of offerings and sort of better campaign, better lead up campaign to the Kickstarter, better Kickstarter campaign page, I think. We're actively looking at other people's Kickstarters and sort of looking at ours was kind of shit. Let's be honest. Ours was kind of shit. It wasn't as clean as I would have liked it to be. And I think that hurt us. There's a few other things that we think that we believe were, under the standard that needed to be there. So yeah, it'll be better. We'll do just fine the second time around. Okay, we're just about an hour and a half into the show, which is where I typically like to wrap it up. So I am going to wrap it up. It's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Hopefully we will see you again very, very soon. Stay tuned to the channel for more videos. I'm behind on everything. I don't know what I'm gonna do next, but I'll probably be back here next Sunday. So if nothing else, I'll see you next Sunday, guys. Bye-bye.
Now that's a country song. Living and loving and driving fast cars. Whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go. Well, I woke up this morning feeling pretty damn tired. I was up all night at a moonlight fire. There was beer, whiskey, beautiful girls, but you can't afford no diamonds and pearls. So I told them I was famous for singing this song. I thought for a while I'd strung them along. One said, fellas, got a pretty good game. Tomorrow I won't even remember his name. Well, living and loving and driving fast cars. Whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know. But I'll leave a beautiful memory when I go. I'll play that just like your daddy taught you. Guitar porch, grabbed myself a beer. I jumped in the car that I wanted to steer. I told them guys I'll be back in the gym, but I accidentally drove my car off a cliff. So now I'm dead, but the song remains, even though I scattered all of my brains on the inside of my black T-bird. I hope y'all remember these beautiful words. Well, living and loving and driving fast cars, whether I'm here or I'm on Mars, I'm gonna die young, baby, that I know, but I'll leave a